and welcome to episode 11 of the Bee and Rose podcast. I'm here in my shed again at the top of the garden in Durham in the north of England, and I live in Durham in the north of England and not in the shed with my husband Mark, our three little girls, a three-legged cat and our dog Roxy, who may make a yappy appearance any minute now. We think she's crossed with a Yorkshire Terrier, so it's kind of like the worst of both worlds, a Jack Russell and a Yorkshire Terrier. Yeah, she definitely lives up to her stereotype. She likes the sound of her own voice. Maybe that could be said for people that do podcasts too, but that's not exactly true. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, it seems really quiet and echoey in here. I've just had a phone call from my dad to say he's had a car accident. He's been driving since 1940 something. He was born in 36. I think he started on tractors, which is probably why he was 8 when he first drove something. It seemed to be alright then. I don't know why. Maybe less people died, I don't know. No seat belts, 12-year-olds behind the wheel. Yeah, bring it on. He was at a funeral, his half-brother's wife's funeral. And somebody's crashed in at the side of him and basically written his car off because his car's very old. So it's put me off a bit. I was all geared up just to get on and do this. It takes me forever. I faff on so much before I record anything. Shifting stuff around, you know. I mean, as if it makes any difference. You can't really see very much behind me anyway, can you? And then my dad's rang and I've just gone woof. But I need to just get this done now. I want it done. I want it out of the way. So that I don't combust like a pressure cooker, because it's time to show you all the things. I didn't think I would actually have much done. I've been putting off podcasting, that's right. I've been putting it off because we thought we might go to Nottingham at the weekend, but that was a pipe dream, totally delusional. And we probably didn't go more than a mile away from home. We had Mark's friend's dog here all day Sunday, which was interesting. It's a cockapoo and it's meant to be hypoallergenic. But even talking about it's making me allergic, so I think it's a lie. I don't know if it's the dust in her coat or what, but yeah, she didn't half make a sneeze. Maybe the title of this podcast should be Phase Allergies, a chronological explanation of what happens and when. That doesn't make any sense. I thought I'd get a long word in. Perhaps that was the wrong one. I don't know. So yes, back to why we're here. Thank you for tuning in. If you tuned in before, then welcome back. And if you're one of the 60 plus new subscribers, then hello. I normally do start with a bit of a rambly tangent. So let's not call it a tangent. Let's just call it the beginning. The ramble at the beginning of what is to come. I've got a few things to show you. I think I've just said, honestly, my mind's gone. I think I've just said that I didn't think I would do much knitting. But I've actually done loads. But a lot of what I'm doing is quite on a large scale. Which has taken quite a long time. I'm knitting the first jumper that I've ever made for me. And yeah, there's quite a lot of stitches on there. There's nearly 400 just around the top half. Why? Why do I do these things? Why don't I like lettuce? Every day, every meal. If I just ate lettuce, I'd be able to like knit little tiny things. Yeah, c'est la vie. So you can find me on Ravelry at Sylviebea, Sylviebea. I'm on Instagram as BEAB_and_Rose, and I'm on Facebook as Bee and Rose. I was on Etsy, but that's going to come to an end. I'll talk about that in a minute. So you can go there and have a look, but you might not find anything. And I think that's about it. If you have any questions about anything that you see in the podcast, or if there's anything, itchy nose, that pesky allergies again. If you have any suggestions or anything really, just drop me a line through Instagram or through the Ravelry group, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I don't know if I've been on since I had my hair cut. I think I have, haven't I? Because I said I was channeling my inner 12-year-old. It was quite a bizarre experience at the hairdresser's. I sat down and it was lovely because she did all the head massage and stuff. Although, to be honest, I'm never quite sure how I'm supposed to feel. Are you meant to shut your eyes and like just be all kind of dreamy when you've got that basin basically trying to decapitate you? Or are you meant to just like chat about your holidays over the sound of the shower? Anyway, the chair that I was sitting in had these massage things in it, and it was massaging my bum. And as a woman who has had 3 children and who has essentially been too lazy to do pelvic floor exercises, even though you do them when you're sitting down, it was kind of touch and go as to whether I enjoyed it or whether it just made me feel like I'd wet myself. It's a bit like when Emma puts the heating on the seats of her new posh fancy huge car that's about twice as high as she is. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't quite know what's happening. I don't know if I feel in control or not. So I came out with a haircut. But yeah, it did make me question what was actually happening to my body. But I do think I would quite like one of those massage chairs. It was quite canny. Yeah, and they don't warn you either, do they, before they start tipping the chair back. So I don't know about you, but I just give a little scream when my feet take off the ground. It's like, ooh, what's going on? As if they just take it for granted that normally when you sit in a chair, you move backwards and have your bum massaged at the same time. That's not like everyday reality, is it really? Unless it is, and my reality is skewed. I don't believe so. But hey, there you go. So I'm using my lovely hand-thrown mug, which is from the Knitted Pottery bloke who lives locally in a place called Eshwinning, which is where my dad grew up, actually. And isn't it lovely? I love it. It's great. But I love that he's called hand-knitted pottery. I wonder if that was maybe somebody he knows knits. Who knows? Yeah, anyway. Lost the thread on that one. Moving on to the knitting, I've actually got a finished object. I have something to show you that I finished. Get the flags out. It's not like you've not seen it before. You've seen it about 20 times, but just not in a finished state. I have finished an actual real-life pair of socks. Can you believe it? And I can see, looking at them, that these ones I did on 2.5 needles and these ones I did on 2.2. Because on the 2.5 I can see quite clearly on the camera that this one is where the yarn has pooled a little bit. Who cares? They're gorgeous. But look at the difference that needle size makes. There was a lady on one of the knitting groups saying, I haven't got the right size needles. Will it make any difference? Yeah, it will. It makes even that tiny little difference of however many, too mathematically challenged to work it out, millimetres, point of millimetres it is. This is a lot bigger than this one. Because, you know, there's a lot of stitches on there. There's a lot of 0.25s of millimetres to kind of collaborate together to make you work off fit. So yeah, I did an true afterthought heel on both socks. I thought I'd keep them a little bit consistent, and I've actually worn them. And I love how I have washed them, even though they're still covered in hair. I love how the heels have kind of felted a little bit. And they're just so comfortable. I really resented taking them off to do the podcast. I washed them in the shower. How do you wash your socks? If they don't end up in the washing machine, as fodder for Mark's evil plan, I generally just, if I'm having a shower, I'll chuck them in the bottom where the plug hole is and stand on them. Like I'm making wine, channeling a bit of Wheel's wife, Nancy. When I do that, do you do that, Nancy? Do you stand on your grapes? Or is that just horrible? Does that not happen in real life? And they come out, it's just loads of muck. Sometimes a little bit of colour, but usually just a load of muck, and then they come out nice and spangly and clean, and they smell, oh they smell lovely, like shampoo. Yeah, and I go on about these every week, but I love this River Knits UK yarn. This is the giant Indian squirrel, or it has those words in, possibly in a different order, and something tomato it was for the heel. And I bought this at Yarndale, and I was disappointed not to go to Nottingham because I know they were there. They seem to be doing loads of shows at the minute, so I hope they're doing really, really well because their yarn's beautiful. And I do really want to buy some more. However, I've been naughty, and instead of buying something from their website that I look at all of the time, I bought something from Polly Orange, but it's not here yet. I think it'll probably be here. Well, it'll be here in time for next week anyway. And like I say, I am a bit late doing this podcast because I'd hoped or dreamt that we might go to Nottingham at the weekend. I can't even remember what we did on Saturday. When was Saturday? Oh yeah, we went to Emma's son's birthday party and it was great. It was at a trampoline centre. Needless to say, I didn't get on a trampoline. I think if I jumped on a trampoline I'd hit the ground, but the trampoline wouldn't spring back up again. So yeah, that wasn't on the cards really. Went back to her house and drank a lot of gin. Then she announced that her and her family were going out at 6 o'clock, and I was like, well, I've had alcohol. Do I now have to go home with my sober husband and 3 children and be a little bit tipsy and probably want to go to bed by 6:30 after drinking gin? I was most disappointed that that was how the evening concluded. However, all was well, and I have discovered a taste for expensive Welsh gin, so thanks, Emma. Thanks for that. Yeah, so they are my only finished object. I am on my way to finishing something else. West Yorkshire Spinners in the candy cane yarn. That is a tube which has yet to be healed, and I have to say this is the most uninspiring thing I've ever knitted, ever. But I'm doing it. I don't know why, I just don't really like the yarn very much. I've always had a bit of an aversion to West Yorkshire Spinners. Don't throw things at me, I can't help it. It's just the way it is. I think it's because the first thing that I knitted was in the Tutti Frutti yarn, and I found the colours were a bit brash. And it was quite rough, which is fine. It's Blueface Leicester mixed with other wool, mixed with nylon, but Annabelle was kind of scared of the jumper, so whenever I went near her she just screamed at me and ran. As seems to happen with a lot of things. Can't wait until the Lopi one's finished. I think Bee's just going to have a fit. Yeah. So I'm very uninspired. However, I'm cracking on with them. And what I've been doing on a morning, because I am basically unemployed at the minute, but I'll expand on that a bit later as well, is after I've dropped the girls off at school, me and the dog will go for about a 2.5 hour walk, but it's not, we don't go very far, I just go really slowly. And I knit on the way, and it's lovely because it's kind of meditative. I do get a little bit self-conscious if anybody walks towards me and I pulled my knitting to the side, so probably all they can see is the sun shining off these weird silver pointy things. And maybe they're frightened. I don't know. It's not my problem, it's theirs. They're only knitting needles. So yeah, I'd say it's knitting in public. It's not. It's knitting secretly in public. Bit like eating a Mars bar. So yeah, I do love the way that it stripes. Yeah, I'm just not loving it, but I'll finish them. They only need to be for a size 4 foot. It's like Emma is this, you know, the main person I ever talk about in this podcast. I might as well just keep doing it without shame. They are for her and her tiny toeless feet. So the peel will probably go in about there, which gives plenty of length in the sock. So yes, I don't like knitting with this yarn. I won't buy it again. But it's there. The other, I'm not going to do like a proper acquisitions thing, I'll just do it now. The other commercial sock yarn that I've bought is this Head Over Heels by Stylecraft, which is, it's the same composition as this, it might be a different kind of wool. 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon, 400 meters. So it's a little bit more dense than my hands dyed stuff, which is 425 meters, but I'm really looking forward to using it. I like the way that the colours are blended, and I think it's good because it means that people who might not have the budget for indie dyed yarn can still have beautiful things. And I don't know how much it was, maybe about £6. It's got lots of lovely colours in it, and I don't think it's taken away from the hand dyed market. I think it's just, like I say, opening it up to people who maybe couldn't or wouldn't want to spend on that. So that's Head Over Heels by Stylecraft, and I'm sure you can get it everywhere. It's not like a secret. And it says that that's how it knits up. So they will be, I'm going to say they will be my next sock cast on, but that could be a complete lie. I don't know until it happens. There's no point in preempting these things. But I just think it'll be more satisfying than the West Yorkshire Spinners. I find this quite fine, and I find that my knitting always looks very flawed whenever I use it. But I do know from the experience I had with the Kate Davies vest cowl, basically it was a vest that I knitted and it was too small. Oh, I'll show you. If you haven't watched before, you'll not have seen this. It was on the back of my chair and it's fallen off. Right, whatever, I'll show you later. That the yarn knitted up quite stiff and it was quite solid, but then when you wash it, it goes really soft and drapey. Do you know what? That's always a good excuse for doing a gauge check, isn't it? Not that even if you're not checking a gauge, just to see how the yarn's going to be when it's been wet. Note to self, stop being ridiculous and knit a sample before you do anything, just to see what's going to happen at the end of the day. So I'm bad mouthing this now before I've washed it, but once it's washed, it's probably going to be completely different and I'll be all like, ooh, more please. I've got a lot of the bird colourways which I think are really, really lovely, and I am looking forward to knitting with those, especially if I do a contrast in tone, a contrast in heel. I think it's just this. Maybe it's because it's 3 stripes of solidness. Anyway, can't help what you like and you don't like, can you? So there you go. I'll have the heel in those for next week. I will have them finished. They are a Christmas gift, so they will be finished. So that's already quite a lot of knitting, isn't it? However, there is more. I made some more socks. This is the Yushitita yarn that I bought from Be Inspired Fibres ages ago. And what I've done with this is, I don't know if you've seen the Hoovian sock that I did, which is basically, how was that problem? I need to be double jointed. 2 lines of chevron with a little bit in the middle. With this one, what I've done is I've done yarn overs, 2 lines of chevrons, and then I've done 2 slip stitches in the middle, just to add a bit of variety and a little bit of texture. But the yarn, it's lovely, but again, I'm not really very inspired by this pair of socks. I love the pattern. I like my bit. I just think I need to learn not to go for stuff that's as light as this, because it's not. I need to go for darker stuff or things that have got a bit more speckliness in it. And it cost 24 of my hard-earned British pounds as well, which is quite a lot of money for something that you don't really love. So yeah, I can see that it's gorgeous and it's dyed beautifully, and it is high twist merino, 80% merino, 20% nylon. And it's beautiful. It is, it's lovely. I think maybe it would have been better if I'd made it into a shawl. I don't know, it's just not inspiring me. But I will finish. I will not do 2 the same as this, because any kind of pattern takes longer. So this is not going to be a pair. It's going to be an odd pair, which I believe is a contradiction in terms. So I'll have one with lots of pattern and one will be vanilla, and it will do, because I don't want to knit 2 of these in yarn that I'm not in love with. Because it did take quite a long time. I feel like I'm talking really fast to the point of virtually hyperventilating. Has anybody got a brown paper bag? Oh no, I'm on my own. Right, so that's that anyway. I did think though, when I cast on these socks in this lovely yarn, I thought, what's the point in just doing a vanilla sock? Why don't I do a pattern and then I can write it up, and if people like it, other people can knit it. Yeah. I did a true afterthought heel again, which is my heel of choice at the minute, so I cut in and I managed not to have any gap. I'm just trying to get that to focus on there. Oh, there, I think that's the optimum positioning, isn't it? Like when you're having a baby, optimal positioning. Yeah, can you see all the gammy soreness on my finger as well? On the bird finger, I do apologise. And my lovely finger, that's from having them wet all the time, dipped in the dye bath. Yeah, so anyway, did that, and it's come out great. It's fine. I love that heel. Yeah, nice bit of Kitchener stitch on the end, which is my favourite and my best. So yes, I've got quite a bit of it left. So if I'm not ridiculous, what I'll do is pull out the one that I don't like and just knit 2 vanilla socks. But I know that I am ridiculous and that that's not going to happen. Like I say, I think it's just too light. The yarn that I have that is really light, that I love, the only one is probably the one that I've got from Kelly Lay, which is Bluebell Walk. Wait a minute, I'm going to go and get it. If I can find the off button. I'm back. Yeah, so this is Kelly Lay's again. I think it's Blue Faced Leicester, and it's, I've showed you this before, but if you're one of the 60 that hasn't been here before, you might not have seen it, and it's worth having a look at because it's gorgeous. Oh, if I get right up to the lens, is that better? Yeah, you see how subtle it is, and there's just tiny little flecks of speckles. But it's quite understated, it's not pretentious at all, it's just gorgeous. And this is a Bonnie Lass sock, which is one of my patterns that's free on Ravelry. And it's, I love it, I love this. I much prefer this, which I got free in a swap, to the one that I paid £24 for. Just my taste. It's not that I think there's anything wrong with that other yarn. It's just I prefer this. It just feels brighter. Anyway, it's all personal taste, isn't it? Can't really say, yeah, not much in them really. And I think this high twist as well, it's very silky and very slippery. And I think after knitting with the River Knits and after knitting with Kelly's yarn, I think I prefer the more rugged, rustic feel. And I like that this is British yarn as well. Blueface Leicester, not that I'm against export and import, I like to think I might have seen the sheep in my local field. My Uncle Edwin's a farmer from Devon, and it is nice when he comes up, because although we don't go for walks with him or anything, he's quite old. I don't know how he drives up here actually without wiping out half the population. But I'll show him photographs of sheep. I'm taking photographs of the sheep, and I know that we have a field full of Blueface Leicester mixed with Texel round the corner. So yeah, maybe one day I'll accost the farmer and ask for some fleece, or maybe not, because I have done that before. Ooh, I don't think it's for me. At the time we had a bathtub in the back garden, not because we're like Rabsy Nesbitt characters or anything like that, but because we were having the bath replaced. There you go, it's not like a continual occurrence. We don't always have a bathtub in the back garden and a settee on the front lawn with a man in a vest sitting on it smoking fags and drinking beer. So I put the fleece in, I gave it a wash, I gave it another wash, I gave it another 20 washes, and it was still minging. And I just thought, you know what, no way, we'll probably all die from E. coli and I'll still not have a good jumper to wear. So I just pulled the plug out and abandoned it. And I think it went to the tip. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I won't do that again. I know Alison from Knit Group, who used to own the Woolly Workshop in Durham, she's got loads of fleece and she's going to send it off to a mill to be spun, but you've got to have loads of it to do that. They've got minimum quantity orders, and excuse me, I just had 3. It was nice though. The lady who I got the fleece from, she works in the co-op, and she rang me and she said the fleece are ready, and I thought, I haven't got a clue who you are, what's going on. Anyway, she explained. We got there eventually, and we got to take photographs and to pet the sheep that the fleece had come from, which was really nice, wasn't it? It's just a shame that I was too useless to do anything useful with it. Never mind. So, other than knitting lots of socks, I have done a little bit more on, hang on, why do I put it where I can't reach it, on Annabelle's cardigan. The doooper, can't remember how you say it, or the Flea Cardigan, which is a bit easier, isn't it? I've started on the border at the bottom, which is the bit I can do just before casting off, but I'm going to ignore the instructions which call for rib at the bottom, and I'm going to do a picot cast off because I much prefer it. I always find it dead satisfying when you've done your picot bind off and you turn the ends up and you get that lovely little ridge. I think it's nice, and I'm pretty sure that's what my mother would have done. So there we go. Bonnie though, isn't it? I can't wait to stick it. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, and as for needles, I've used high sharps, but I wanted to start knitting a sleeve because I was already in the perils of sleeve rejection before I'd even started doing the sleeves. I hate the way that once you've knitted the body of something you think, oh, I'm nearly finished, and then you start on the sleeves, it's like, no, I'm nowhere near finished. It's going to take me at least another 2 lifetimes to get through these pesky sleeves, because each sleeve is basically like half a body. They just take forever, and especially with one of my girls, Sylvie, who's got huge long arms. Luckily Annabelle's she's nearly 8 and her arms aren't that long yet, so she's fine. Her sleeves will be full length. in the summer all I do are like half sleeves, which is great, but obviously it's winter now, so there we go. I've tried this on her a couple of times and she hasn't just totally freaked out and complained about how itchy it is, because although it feels rustic, it's not itchy. It's the Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, and if you've not felt it before, it just feels like it feels like curly hair. I don't know, I can't describe it. It's not itchy though, it's strange. I think once it's washed and blocked it'll be glorious. Anyway, yes, high sharps, I love them. The cables are really flexible and the joints are very, very smooth, so the work just flows on them for sock knitting, for anything. Chai-Goos, I think these are fine for sweaters. However, I think they're terrible for socks or for sleeves, because the cables are so heavy that if you're magic looping, it makes things really difficult, and I think it makes them a lot harder than they need to be. You've got to put more effort in to knit using these cables. However, oh, I've got some behind me, but they're right over there. The Chai-Goo mini twists are fab. The cables are really thin, and obviously the needles like 2.25 or whatever are tiny, and they're just so beautifully engineered. The joins are gloriously smooth and the cables are easy to pull through. They're great to do the magic loop with. So I think that essentially this is the wrong tool for the job. Beautiful. If I'd had the foresight to swap them and to use the Chai-Goos on the bottom of the body, it would be great, because I'd have that extra firmness from the... Oh, there's Mark ringing. I rang Mark earlier. I sent him a text about my dad. I'll just ignore that. I'll just be vaguely distracted by it. But I don't know where my phone is anyway, so I can't actually answer it. Normally I've got an audiobook on my phone when I'm in the shed, and if the phone rings or I get a text message, it cuts the audiobook out. But obviously that would be a bit weird if I was recording a podcast and listening to an audiobook at the same time. I don't think I could manage that level of multitasking. So yeah, if the Chai-Goos were along the bottom with its lovely firm cable, it would be great. But they are absolutely no good to me for doing magic loop on sleeves. So that's prompted me to finish off the body of the sweater so that I don't have to buy yet another pair of needles. I'm probably on some kind of like Amazon watch list for how many pairs of knitting needles that I buy. Maybe they think I'm making something that's very needly. I don't know, but I do buy a lot of knitting needles because I never seem to have the ones that I need, even though I've got like 20,000 million. Excuse me. So I'll basically put these back in my bag for another project, and I'll swap to the highs on the arms so that I've got the lovely flexible cables. They are my favourites. I like high sharps, and also just the normal highs, which aren't sharps. They've got a green wire as opposed to a blue one. And I didn't realise there was any difference when I first bought them, but now I know, and they're both fine. The only knitting needles I've had that I've never really liked was an old pair of Addy lace needles, and they had a horrible smell. I'm really sensitive to smell, and you know, sometimes if you have an old coin, like an old 2p piece, it's got a really just not a good smell. Is it brass? I don't know what it is, but it's a bit stinky and you can never get it off your fingers. I can smell it really strongly for ages, and those knitting needles were exactly the same. So I've never bought any more of those. I've never needed to. They had a red cable. I don't know if it was old stock or what, but I was really disappointed and couldn't use them. And then other than that, what I've been doing, which I love and I'm really excited about, is the jumper that is for me. This is, I can't even show you because it's big and it's on the needle, so I'll show you a little bit at a time. This is the Arboreal sweater by Jennifer Steingass, who is also Love Knit Wool on Ravelry. She's got a lovely Ravelry shop. And she did the Tryster, oh, look at that, sweater, which I've shown on the podcast loads of times in the past, which was in the last edition of Lane magazine. And she's doing a knit along for this with the, I think hashtags mean prizes basically. You'll have to check it out, but from what I could gather, you do your knitting and your hashtag either Jennifer Steingass or Arboreal KAL, whatever, and it enters you into random competition. So that's the neck, and I've done it completely different to her pattern because I am bigger than the largest size. So I'm using a large needle and I'm using Aran weight wool. I'm not using double knitting, which is 8 ply or just light worsted. I'm using Aran. Yeah, well, I showed you, didn't I? I showed you my huge big balls. I do have decreasing balls, but not rapidly. I've finished using the white now and I've got enough left probably to stretch from here to London. There's absolutely miles of it left, so I'll have to make some hats. I don't know, maybe it'll just go in the bottom of the pile and never get used. It's this big. I might split it up into smaller balls. And I've added stitches to the front so that I can stick it because I don't want to wear a jumper that's going to be super bulky, but I will wear it as a cardigan. Oh, I just needed to have a look to see if my dad had turned up because his car is still drivable, he just can't get out of it. Honestly, elderly parents, sorry if you are one, but come on. Yeah, he's 80. Does quite well really for 80. Him and his pal John go cycling and he does like, oh, I've just done a Kenny Everett style boob lift. They go cycling and they do about 30 odd miles on their electric bikes. He loves it, it's great. So yes, the stitches down the front where I'm going to stick, I've done 2 pearls and that's where I'll pick up to do the button bands, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll slit, I'll do crochet kind of here, and then I'll cut up the middle of this row of stitches here. And I haven't alternated, you know, like how you can have a checkerboard effect and you stick in stitches, and I don't know if that's a problem or not because I'm not that experienced. I just make it up as I go along and presume that it's right, and normally it turns out okay. Haven't had that many problems using that kind of method. So yeah. Oh, there is another thing I've got to show you. Yeah, so I've done this since last time I spoke to you, and although it's Aran weight yarn, which is really heavy, that's still a heck of a lot knitting. That is a lot, and my shoulder is really sore. And I did think after I did the last podcast that I would have a little knitty break. Yeah, as you can see, that didn't really work out for me, did it? Never mind. Yes, so that's happening, and I love it, and I'm joining in with the knit along. And I love the way that if you post a picture of your jumper or whatever on Instagram, I like the way that Jennifer Stangas comments. I don't know, I get all excited about that. I'm like, oh, what can I possibly say to reply? I have to reply, I have to say something. And the other thing that I have been doing, another bit of colour work, is this Selbu mitten, which is one of Skeindier's patterns from Ravelry. This isn't part of her mitten club, and I'm glad I didn't buy the club patterns. I think it was about £20 for 4 patterns. I'm pleased that I just bought the one because I don't know if I'll do any more after I finish this. I found it quite difficult to do the colour work on such a small circumference. I don't know though, but this is West Yorkshire Spinners and I'm not going to complain about it because I really like it. It's double knitting. I got some cream and some blue, and I've got some grey as well, so maybe I will make some more. It's making my nose really itchy. Ooh, there's my needle gone. Oh yeah, look, and these are the higher highs that aren't the higher sharps. They've got a green cable as opposed to a blue one, and they're just absolutely lovely. So yes, trundled along to our last remaining local yarn store last Monday evening and bought the yarn, and then I cast on straight away. I didn't do very much, but then Sylvie was off school on Friday, so I just sat with Sylvie and I made these. I made them for her. Isn't it lovely? It is really pretty, isn't it, in the back? I tell you what I did though. I hadn't read the instructions properly. I didn't realise. I thought when I got a bit annoyed, I thought, well, why wasn't that in the instructions? If I'm following a chart, why didn't it say in the instructions, in the chart, what I need to do? Because when you knit the mittens, you put a bit of waste yarn in and cast on more stitches for the thumb. But that wasn't in the chart, that was in the written instructions. Being me, I hadn't read all of the written instructions before I'd gone straight into the chart. So I knitted the entire mitten without a thumb, just this gusset bit here, and I was like, oh, Howie, what am I going to do now? So I just cut it. I slid a needle through and I picked up the right amount of stitches on one row. Then I went back the other way, like an afterthought heel, back the other way for another row, took the yarn out, and then I started to knit the thumb. But what I've quite clearly done, I think, I'm not sure, so it looks like that, but I think that the thumb's meant to be the other way around because it's got a pattern on it, but I don't know. But isn't it lovely? It just looks so clever, and yet it was so simple. Really easy colourwork pattern. I think I might have gone a bit wrong there. I don't know. I don't care. I still really like it. And I love the increases for the thumb gusset, the way it makes kind of the lines go in different directions, which I find very interesting. And the cuff's gorgeous. But Sylvie, next year when she starts senior school, she'll be going on a school trip to Iceland. What's that all about? It's costing 300 quid for her to go to Newby in North Yorkshire in March. So I think we'll probably have to take another mortgage out for the three of them to be able to go to Iceland. It's ridiculous. We went to Middleton and Teesdale and it was like torture. We used to go in winter and the snow, because obviously, as everybody tells you, in those days it snowed all of the time. Well, it probably mustn't have done, but whenever we went to Middleton and Teesdale it did, like the once we went. We went there with a girl called Hilary Bean who used to wet herself all the time. Oh, she would have been doubly cold. And then yeah, the snow was like knee high and they had us trudging over the Pennines. How bizarre. We just stayed in this huge big dormitory. Yeah. I don't know if it wouldn't have been great as far as I was concerned because I hated going to school. But yeah, it was definitely different. What was I waffling on about? Why did I start talking about Middleton and Teesdale in the snow? Oh yeah, because Sylvie's going to Iceland. So I figure that even if I have another year and a half to finish the other one, it's fine. I think I'll probably cast it on pretty quickly. But I do find though that doing the colour work, when it's quite intense like that, does make my shoulder hurt more. Whereas just knitting socks is pretty easy and I can sit in a different position and relax a bit more. So we'll see. Well, I did that while we watched a programme. Sylvie was on the computer. She wasn't watching it, but I watched something on Netflix called Alias Grace, which was quite interesting. So that was very enjoyable. It's in my bag by Yarn Magpie, who is on Etsy, Instagram, probably Ravelry and all over the shop. And I love it. It's just beautiful. Liberty fabric. So that's kind of it for the knitting kind of stuff. Yeah. And like I say, I am basically unemployed at the minute. I haven't said anything on any of my social media pages, but I'm not going to die for the shop updates anymore. I've got club yarn to go out. I'll still be doing that, but I won't be dying to sell. I think I basically need to get a proper job, which is utterly depressing. Whatever a proper job may be. I've had 12 years of being self-employed, and the thought of actually going out every day into work, I'll probably last a fortnight and then have to have 10 years off from the horror of it all. But it would just be nice to be able to earn a bit of money and to have a pension and to have holiday pay and to have sick pay, instead of dyeing yarn, which I love, but you have to have a minimum order when you buy your yarn wholesale. And quite often, my clubs have always been tiny. I've only had like 10 people in them, although I love each and every one of you. It doesn't cover the cost of the yarn, so I've been subsidising it. And I don't really feel like I can do that anymore. I need to make the sensible decision to stop. But what I'm going to do next week, because like I say, my shoulder is quite sore and I don't know how much knitting work I'll have to show you, I'm going to take you with me while I dye my club yarn. So I'll show you how I do the speckles and all of the different dyes and the equipment that I use. So I guess for some people that'll be interesting, for other people it'll be incredibly dull. C'est la vie. You can't please everybody all of the time, can you? Although I do try. So yes, that's what I'm going to do next time. But I'm definitely going to keep up with the podcast because I love doing it for some reason. I don't know. It's like self-flagellation, but at the same time it's very gratifying. And I want to get my numbers up. And I feel a bit self-conscious saying this, because it's quite embarrassing, but I'm not a person who would go into somebody else's Facebook and say, hey, come and look at my podcast. But I think that's kind of what you need to do if you want people to come on board. But when I'm saying this, I want to make sure that everybody who subscribes, everybody who watches, is very much appreciated. We went up to Edinburgh a few weeks ago, and there was a guy there doing magic tricks, and he was such an a-hole. All he was waffling on about was the fact that there weren't loads of people there to watch him, instead of being appreciative of the people who were actually there. So I am really, really appreciative. However, I'm very competitive in everything other than sport, and I'm mainly very competitive with myself. So I want to have more subscribers to my channel. I'm just going to put it out there, right, and let's just see what happens. And as a mother of 3 children, I do understand you can want whatever you want to want, but generally it doesn't work without bribery. So I have prizes, and I figure that if I can find them, oh, it's because it's in the bag. When I get to 500 subscribers, there is a way, Master Google tells me, that you can look on YouTube and find out who your subscribers are. So when I get to 500 subscribers, I'm going to do a random giveaway of this here project bag made by my own fair hands. This is fabric that I've designed. Got a bit of a crunchy corner, sorry about that. I'm going to put another thing through it so it's got a double tie in it, because that's no good, it won't shut properly. It's got a zipper pocket at the front for your DPNs, stitch markers and the shenanigans. It's got a magnetic clasped pocket inside, which is great because you can get your A4 patterns folded up in there. And it's also got an internal zipper pocket. So obviously you've got to be careful that you don't get your yarn stuck in the zip. If you do, you're going to be very disappointed and you'll have to fiddle on getting it out again. But it's quite big, and it will come with a skein of yarn, and also this very scarf that I'm wearing. Oh yes, this is in a plains fabric, and this was designed by me. When you design fabric to be woven, you don't only have to do the pattern, you also have to design the weave. I didn't realise that when I got into this weaving shenanigans. So on the first trip to the mill, I was like, yeah, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. And then I came away having to learn this entire language known as weave. It was a bit of a challenge. However, I think that we came up with something rather lovely, and the mill don't help you, which is fine, they're busy weaving stuff. So whoever wins it, you'll have to give it a wash because it's still full of dust from mill, and if you have a smell of it, that's what it smells like when you get your fabric on these huge big bolts of fabric that have got a couple hundred meters on per tube. It's got this really strange smell, and it's just the cotton from the mill. And when you go to the mill, everything is covered, absolutely covered, and about an inch thick with dust. I wonder what my allergies would be like in there. Crazy, it would just be out of this world. So yes, once I get to 500 subscribers, I'll randomly, or more, I don't say that I want to be greedy, but I kind of do, project bag, some lovely speckly hand-dyed yarn by me, which is very, very nice, and this here scarf, so you can go out matching scarf and bag. Yes, so share, spread, do whatever you need to do. I don't really know, yeah, to help me compete with myself. There is no other agenda to me doing this now. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to be dyeing anymore, so it's not a platform for me to sell things. I think that initially I thought that it might help to boost yarn sales, but yeah, I've wrecked my kitchen. I've probably got some horrible kind of lung thing going on from not wearing a mask often enough, and I think maybe it's time to stop doing that and just to dye for pleasure for me. So that's what's going to happen. Anyway, like I said, the club yarns will still go out. Next episode will be about me dyeing yarn, so you can see how I do it, pick up some tips and tricks, if that makes any sense. And one more thing I want to show you before I go. That's the yarn for the Birkin sweater behind me, which I still haven't touched. The camera's going to go off. I still don't know why it does that. This is one of my bags that I made. It's got a little leather handle. It's quite handy having a sewing shack, isn't it, when you want to come in and just do things. And it opens, it's got two drawstrings, and it is full of the most beautiful stuff that I got from Yarndale from the Chester Wool stall. Chester Wool is where I buy all of my undarned yarns. So the guy let me have these for wholesale prices while I was there, and they are amazing. If you have a chance to try any of this that somebody's dyed, then do it. This is 50% silk, 50% baby camel, and it is unbelievable. It's absolutely gorgeous. I would definitely recommend trying some of that. And this is merino, silk and yak, and that is just glorious as well. Definitely a blend to give a go. It just feels wonderful. If you knit anything and anything that's got this type of blend, let me know. I'd love to see it. And this is alpaca, silk and cashmere, which is just ridiculous. It's fantastic. There must be people, there'll be loads of people dyeing it. And this one is a lace weight. Alpaca, silk and cashmere again in lace weight. And I'm going to, I don't know whether to colour that or not. I'm kind of inspired by the greys that are already in it, and might just add a bit more grey and maybe a bit of mauve. I don't know, what do you think? And then this one, which is yak, and it's sock yarn, and I've got loads of this. So I can feel my sock knitting mojo returning. I kind of lost it for a bit, but I think it's back now. Anyway, my mouth is very dry. I feel like I need to return Mark's phone call. So that's it. Mint Bee Yarns will be watching this, and she watches me in the bath. She's staying in a travel lodge on her own tonight, so enjoy your bubbles, girlfriend. And I shall see you all next week. Toodaloos!